Hello and welcome to episode 315 of the Heart of Markness Led Zeppelin broadcast. How's it going? Happy Memorial Day if you're in the States or if it's still Memorial Day. Otherwise, happy day to you. Glad to have you here. What we have today is an older recording, and back in the long ago, like 250 episodes ago, I featured part of this recording because there was a release that I came across that was recordings from this show and from a 1967 show. And I featured both of those. But I'm doing this one again, exclusively the 1968 show, Yardbirds, May something, 1968. I had it already here. May 29th. May 29th. We are just a couple of days away from it being the 57th anniversary of this show. Now that the Earl's Court anniversaries are over and the 50th anniversary of anything 1975, except for that jam on the Isle of Jersey at Bain's Pub, is in the rearview mirror. So moving along, time passes. This, as I mentioned, May 29th, 1968, just mere months before Led Zeppelin 1 is recorded, and Led Zeppelin hasn't even been formed yet. This is the tail end of the Yardbirds. And it's super interesting because so much of it foreshadows Led Zeppelin, which is no surprise. They even did they did Dazed and Confused at that time. They did How Many More Times, although they called it Smokestack Lightning, I think. Now I'm going from memory, which is always wrong. But yes, they did the How Many More Times. Do. Dazed and Confused, as we mentioned earlier. Train Kept A-Rollin', obviously. That was their song. Not originally, but they were the ones known for doing it. So we have what's a good band, a really good guitar band that just, unfortunately, they were part of the Mickey Most hits machine, which was the studio environment in which Jimmy Page grew up as a session musician, which is you just go in, play the song, cookie cutter, play it, done, next, play it, done, next. And they would crank out singles. Albums were not really a thing that was regarded well. I mean, albums were where you got the single off of, and the rest of the songs are filler. So you had a band that was growing like the Yardbirds that had Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page in the band at the same time. Two unbelievable virtuosos, two unbelievable experimental guitarists that were doing really cool shit. But the singles that were coming out were, Heartful of Soul or Shapes of Things to Come and things like that, which were pop hits. So the Yardbirds were kind of destined to not make it, as were a lot of those bands that didn't make the transition that kind of happened in 1968 into 69 from the studio-owned and run bands who may be virtuosos, somebody like Cream, for example, that miss out on the technical innovations of like 8-track recording and things like that occur later on, just a year later, when, with the great help of Led Zeppelin and the Alan Klein movement with the Stones and the Beatles, the assertion of independence and dominance by the artist over the system happened after the Yardbirds exploded, unfortunately, so they didn't make it through. Keith Relf was done. And Jimmy held on to the name and then put together a new band, the New Yardbirds, which quickly became Led Zeppelin. And by the end of 1968, the greatest band in the world existed. But a few months before, May 29th, this wonderful little band of blues Yardbirds, moving into psychedelia, moving into, at times, virtuosity, played Concord, California, and we are going to hear that. You can get this recording online, all of it that exists, reel-to-reel recording. I think this is even off the master. That doesn't mean it sounds good. We're dealing with 1968 technology being captured by 1968 technology. So it's not the best sounding tape you've heard. It sounds a lot like the audience recordings of January 69, a lot of them. So totally listenable. You get to hear Jimmy's genius. You get to hear the rest of the band. And you get to hear a little window into an alternate history where this band stayed together And Zeppelin never happened. So here is the set list. Like I mentioned, you can go to heartofmarkness.com, get this entire recording. Got the introduction, Train Kept a Rolling, Mr. You're a Better Man Than I, Heartful of Soul, Dazed and Confused, Shapes of Things, White Summer. Yeah, the White Summer that he played in Zeppelin. That's the one. Happenings 10 years time ago, and I'm a Man. So, what I'm going to play for you is, first of all, now I have done this, like I said, a few years ago. I don't remember what I did. I went to look at the show and I didn't list out the songs I listened to. So, one or two of these may have been covered 5-6 years ago by me. So, sorry. However, fresh ears, fresh perspective, fresh appreciation. So let's listen to Mr. You're a Better Man Than I, and just listen to the interesting guitar. I mean, it's just crazy to hear Jimmy and have a guitar band like this at the time that just wasn't thriving. It's like you're trying to grow a cactus, but you're watering it as if you were watering a spider plant or a ficus, and it's just not thriving under those conditions. What a wonderful analogy, Mark. You are wonderful. Thank you. All right, here we go. Mr. You're a Better Man Than I, May 29th, 1968. Jimmy Page and those wacky Yardbirds. That was super cool. It's neat to hear what is obviously Jimmy Page, because you can recognize it and hear flashes of other little ideas and things that he would bring into Zeppelin, and just some of the little things that he plays improvisationally as, Jimmy Page, some of the tricks in his bag, as it were. Super interesting. And in an alternate timeline, this band made it into the 70s, and they would have put out some incredibly cool shit. Now, Jim McCarty, absolutely fine drummer, but what do you do when the alternative is John Bonham? Or what do you do with what is Chris Drea, the bass player? Perhaps? I'm trying to remember. I think he played bass when Jimmy took over lead. But whoever the bass player was, let's call it Chris Drea, who took the photograph on the back of Led Zeppelin 1. So, he was involved. He was trying to keep the band together with Jimmy, too, but it just kind of fell apart. But then when you discover Robert Plant, who says, hey, I've got a buddy, John Bonham, and you discover Bonzo, who's the greatest drummer on earth, and you've got John Paul Jones, greatest session musician, one of them. He was up there with Jimmy on the bass and arrangement side of things. You had a titanic force of two industry-savvy people, not people who had been in bands before, like The Who or the Kinks or something like that, but people who had been in the industry before, playing those sessions, those soulless mechanical sessions. You've got 1 hour, give me an A side and a B side, boom, boom, which is why they had the session musicians, because the timetables didn't allow for, amateur young musicians to come in and find their feet in the studio. So it's like, hey, if you can't get it in one take or at most two, we're going to have Jimmy do it and Jonesy do it, because they can get it done and we can move along. Time's a wasting. Less about artistry, more about product. So it's cool. I did not give the Yardbirds much attention for most of my life, because all I knew of the Yardbirds and all I had were these super cheap 1980s label-less compilation tapes on the shittiest cassettes ever, with no noise reduction and obviously taking from high generation transfers and just horrible quality, and it didn't really do it for me. But listening to these shows, holy moly, are we onto something good. I think, Jimmy Page has that live Yardbird album. I think he redid Anderson Theater. That would be something to listen to, because it would, A, be produced by Jimmy Page, and it has this incredible band on this tour at that time, professionally recorded. So maybe I'll try and get a hold of that. Can't share it with you, though, if it's officially released. Sorry. All right, bibble babble. That's what I'm doing. Alrighty, what do we have now? Now I'm going to play a song you know. Heartful of Soul. Jeff Beck on the original. Jimmy Page on this one. Here we go. Same date, May 29th. All that's the same.
to fail. Sometimes you're more dazed and confused than you are than others. Sometimes you aren't. Sometimes you can sound.
But we aren't listening to Dazed and Confused, friends. But why, Mark? That would be the most interesting thing to listen to on a Led Zeppelin podcast. The Led Zeppelin song, still in its embryonic state, emerging from the Jake Holmes original into the Led Zeppelin classic. True, but listen to that episode 79, I think it is, of the last one. You can hear it there. All right, didn't want to double dip. Easy thing, wanted to go a little bit with deeper cuts, a little more content, a little more value, perhaps. And all of this content and value and passion, etc., etc., is exclusively the courtesy of the Titans upon whose shoulders rests this humble yet mighty podcast. I am talking of my patrons. And a Laurel and Hardy handshake. Patrons, patreon.com/heartofmarkness. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, you get a podcast or two just for you every month on top of what you get for free, because that's how we roll. Merch discounts, etc., and access to the magic drive upon which all these shows are hosted. Tra-la-la-la-la. Patreon.com/heartofmarkness. And unless you tell me not to, I'll read your name. So a Laurel and Hardy handshake goes out to Stephen, Ryan, John, Gary, Keith, and Tilda, parts unknown, Steve, George, Big Ed, Kenny of regular size, Picard, Knegarn, welcome back, buddy. I missed you. I love you. I hope you are well. Jeff, Wayne, Brad, Danielle, Tracy, Other and Supreme David, reminding you that if you're due for a colonoscopy, get a colonoscopy. Better to be safe than sorry. Bonzo Billy and Mimo. Page 2. S.E. Olson, Holy Flash, Don, Marvin, Black Dragon, Keld, Mario C., Lance, and Rob from where? Melbourne, Australia. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks. Your support means the world to me. It keeps me honest in that I come to do this even if I don't feel like it, because with the old neurodivergence in the noodle, the ADHD, etc., and maybe a touch of the tiz, object permanence doesn't matter. So if I don't do this, if I skip this show, it just disappears. There's no moorings to it. It's like I never did it. It's gone forever. I don't feel pulled to it. Yet I love doing it. So having the obligation to do this show every week, because you guys are supporting and paying me for it, and that's the deal, brings me coming back, keeps the show going a million times better for my life, for which I am grateful and thankful, and not just for the money, for the things that I mentioned, the other non-monetary benefits. Yay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you, love you, love you. Moving right along. If you want to connect with me, you can connect with me, mark@heartofmarkness.com will get to me, or you can message me through Patreon if you're a patron, or the Facebook group, Heart of Markness Facebook group on Facebook. If you're not part of that, join on up. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, I'm on there, but I'm not active on there at all. I'm bad at this promotion stuff, horrible at it, actually. So, I mean, I guess it's good that I keep doing this. But yeah, if you want to try and reach me there, you can try and reach me there. In fact, I just had a horrifying recollection that I have left one of my favorite human beings on earth, and a patron, on red for a very long time. Fuck. Another thing with the ADHD, I often think that I've replied to people, because in my head I did. So in my head, that's checked off the whole list, and then I come back to it to an unanswered text, and it makes me feel like a prick. So sorry, I will get to you. All right, enough biddle battle. Let's go back to the one more song I have to play for you. And it is I'm a Man. And one of the reasons that I didn't play Dazed and Confused, aside from is a low-hanging fruit and I've done it before, is because I'm a Man is the showcase for improvisation and jamming. More than Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused was coming together. It was still the violin bow and all that. Do. All that. Dazed and Confused just sung by another guy, played by another band. I'm a Man is, I mean, it goes right back to the very beginning of Eric Clapton in the Yardbirds, but it is the vehicle through which the band stretches out, jams, has fun. Like you could tell, Heartful of Soul, that was what, 2 minutes? 2.5 minutes? Bam. Cranked it out, didn't stretch it out along. Have to do that song. It's the one that, it's why we're here, play the song, but it's not the songs that they jam to. This is, and it is very interesting and very, again, it's embryonic. It's neat to hear Jimmy Page, as he was out of the chrysalis, drying his wings in the sun, as it were. All right, here we go. I'm a man. Ba-da-da-da.
Right on the beat there. And in comes our first drummer, Jim Carpenter. Thank you. This number is called A Man.
That was cool as shit. I really, really, really enjoyed that. A lot of respect. A lot of respect for that band to be, one of the 8 trillion bands to be born in the very early 60s of the London blues explosion, along with the Stones, etc. The Yardbirds moved into straight up experimental, improvisational, psychedelic, and blues rock. Super duper impressive. And of course, Jimmy Page already with the light shade and the themes running through the instrumentals. Super cool. And then I think, what was that? Do 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 do. Is that over, under, sideways, down? Going into that at the end, which I think they referred to also in some of the jamming. Really interesting, really cool. And yeah, I'm definitely going to give that official jimmypage.com Yardbirds thing a listen, because it sounds like there's some cool shit to hear. All right, everybody, have I done everything? I think I have. Go to heartofmarkness.com to find this show, like I said. Go to merchofmarkness.com if you love me so much you want to wear my propaganda. T-shirts, mouse pads, coffee cups, all that stuff. How about I have Patreon if you want to support the podcast, get some of the esoteric extra secret shows just for yourself. Patreon.com/heartofmarkness. Otherwise, I love you. Thank you for listening. Please be good to yourselves and each other. And I'll be back soon. Thanks.